Hi, I'm Brian Rose of London Real. Welcome to the third training in our Broadcast Yourself workshop. In today's video, we're going to outline the 7-step process for building a successful podcast from scratch. It's based on the steps we took to go from nothing to 80 million audio downloads and over 200,000 YouTube subscribers. So if you're looking to find your passion and live it every day, if you want to connect with inspiring people who push you to be your very best self, and if you want to impact thousands, even millions of people around the world with your ideas, then pay close attention to this video. Because podcasting is the perfect vehicle to do all that and more. Today, we'll demystify the process of starting a podcast so you can create a high-quality show you're proud of. One that lets you open people's minds with your ideas and build a tribe of raving fans. So you can go to bed knowing you're doing work that matters, that you're inspiring thousands and leaving a lasting legacy. Back in video 1, we talked about how hosting a podcast forces you to find your passion and live it every day, so you can feel inspired, fulfilled, and accomplished throughout the week. In video 2, you saw how having a show gives you an excuse to connect with inspiring people, so you can learn from them while having the deeper, more meaningful conversations that are rare in today's digital world. If you haven't watched those first 2 videos, do that now. They serve as the foundation for everything we'll cover today. Watching them will help you get off to a roaring start when you apply the steps we're about to cover now. Now, the thought of starting a podcast may feel overwhelming. You may have no clue where to start or think you don't have time. That's why today's video will simplify the process. It'll give you clarity and save a ton of time. We're about to cover a step-by-step process that shows you exactly what to do and when, so you can eliminate the guesswork and focus on one baby step at a time. With this, you can move forward with confidence, knowing you're on a path that inevitably leads to a successful show you're proud of. So, if you ever felt like you're sitting on the sidelines, watching others accomplish great things and live inspiring lives, or if you ever feel like a cog in someone else's machine, punching the clock each day at a job you really don't care about, if you've ever lay in bed at night looking back on your day wondering, what's it all for? Or you wake up feeling like crap thinking, I haven't done anything with my life. The process you're about to learn can snap you out of that, just like it did for me. Follow the steps, and you will live a more inspiring, fulfilling, and happier life. In a moment, you'll see the exact steps for building a successful podcast from scratch, one that impacts thousands of lives and builds a tribe of raving fans who support you. And if you want to turn this hobby into a profitable business, you'll see how to do that too, in a fraction of the time that it took me. What you're about to learn is the 20% that will give you 80% of your results. It's based on 6 years of in-the-trenches experience and will keep you moving in the right direction from day 1. But be careful. After learning these steps, you may be tempted to skip over some of them. Don't do it. This is a complete system, and every step builds off the one before it. There are subtle nuances in each section that can have a huge impact on the direction and quality of your show. You don't want to be another one of the Me Too shows, no different from all the others out there, or spend years cranking out content but never get traction. You want a show where you can share your unique voice, insights, and ideas with the world. A show that stands out, is compelling, and attracts thousands of the right people in droves. So you can give people new perspectives and build an audience of passionate fans. Without further ado, let's dive in. The first step in launching a successful podcast from scratch is to find your perfect theme. Nailing this can have you waking up excited to do what you love. To be honest, Most shows never take the time to find their perfect theme. They just hit record and see what happens. And that's why it takes most people, myself included, years to get a following. They're doing everything backwards. They start off talking about everything and figure out what their show is all about as they go. If they honed in on their perfect theme from the start, they'd get traction much faster. To find your perfect theme, you need 3 things. First, uncover what you're really passionate about. Second, identify the kinds of people you want to talk to. And third, find the intersection between those things and what listeners want to hear. This ensures your show will be fun and you attract an audience right out of the gate. Of course, doing these 3 things, especially figuring out what listeners want to hear, isn't always easy. That's why we developed a systematic process that guides you through each step so you can find your perfect theme. More on that in the next video. Once you're clear on this, the second step is to validate it. I could have saved years of headache and confusion had I done this when I started. Validating your idea means making sure there's an audience hungry for your show before you create it. At Google, they developed a process for getting real-world validation for their ideas in 1 week. We adopted it at London Real and even created a method for applying it to podcasting. So you can be certain your podcast will resonate before you even lift a finger to build it. Part of this process is identifying your first 10 guests, then exploring the market to find topics you know will be a hit. At the same time, you explore subcultures you're already a part of to create your roadmap for landing your first 1,000 true fans as fast as possible. Most podcast hosts spend a year or more cranking out content, trying to find out what people want to hear. But with the process we created, you can do it in less than a week. Step 3 is creating your studio. The beauty of this part is once it's all set up, you won't have to think about it again. All you have to do is sit down and hit record and turn your conversation into a show. One people can find and listen to for years, even decades. But there are a few questions you'll need to answer at this stage. For example, what mic and software are best for your goals, budget, and situation? How can you figure out the equipment quickly and easily? And how can you set it all up so it feels natural for you and your guest while sounding as professional as possible? In the next training, you'll see how you can get answers to these questions along with all the others we raise here today. Step 4 is reaching out to guests and keeping yourself booked solid. Having a podcast is a great excuse to connect with inspiring people and ask them anything you want. From there, you can form deep bonds and lasting relationships. Plus, you can absorb their best lessons and insights. But you'll run into some questions here as well, such as, how can you make a crisp, clear pitch that motivates people to be on your show, especially if they are a well-known person? Once they're on your show, how do you start the conversation? What kind of questions should you ask? How can you keep it flowing and compelling? And how can you get your guests to open up and be vulnerable so you're not getting the same superficial answers as everyone else? Step 5 is editing and uploading. Here's where you turn your raw conversation into a polished, professional-sounding show that wows your listeners. Along with editing, you'll also want more advanced techniques to make your show outstanding. For example, how can you sound clearer, deeper, and more confident without spending thousands on a voice coach like I did? Or, what will your publishing strategy be? How will you expose your show to the right people in the minimal time? Step 6 is building an audience of engaged listeners. This is where you drive thousands of people to your show so you can build a tribe of passionate fans who support you rave about you, and stay with you for years. Some questions here include: how can you get your first 1,000 subscribers as fast as possible? Should you focus on SEO? And what other strategies could explode your popularity faster and with less work? Also, how will you brand your show so it sticks in people's minds? And where can you get quality cover art, especially if you're on a budget? What metrics will you use to track your success and ensure you're on the path for exponential growth? Finally, there's step 7, monetize. If you want to turn this hobby into a 6 or 7-figure lifestyle business so you can quit your job and get paid to do what you love, you're going to love this. It took me 4 years to crack the code on monetizing my show because I didn't know what you're about to learn now. For the longest time, I thought the only way to earn money podcasting was through sponsorships. But that's actually one of the worst methods there is. Because even with hundreds of thousands of subscribers, you still may not make enough through ads to pay the rent. Outside of sponsorships, there are 6 other major ways to generate steady, reliable income through your show. We'll go deep into all of them on the 4th and final video training. For now, we'll briefly cover one method: selling your own product. If you want to generate serious income by selling your own product, focus first on building a following. Then, ask what kind of challenges they face, and then create a series of videos or an ebook that helps them overcome that challenge. The first time I sold a digital course, we earned over $20,000 in a few weeks. We've since created 2 other courses that have catapulted London Real into a 7-figure business. But here's the best part. Selling a course can get your audience to love you even more because it gives you a chance to make a greater impact on their lives. For example, I used to get frustrated that people would listen to my show, get inspired, and then do nothing. And my listeners were frustrated too. So we created a private community to help people put what they were learning into action. And the results were astounding. People were starting businesses, building amazing relationships, overcoming lifelong fears, and becoming their best selves. Some guys loved it so much, they got the course initials tattooed on their legs. The path for turning your podcast into a 6 or 7-figure lifestyle business is all laid out. Before you know it, you can leave your job and spend 100% of your time doing what you love and have complete control over how you spend your day. There you go. That's the 7 steps for creating your own successful podcast from scratch. Remember, you'll get answers to all the questions we raised here, plus a lot more in the final training video coming up next. If you want step-by-step processes for finding your perfect theme, running a compelling interview, building a massive audience, and everything else we touched on today, be sure to tune in. For now, let's crush some of the doubts that may have crept in as we went through all of that. Sound good? First, you may be thinking this sounds like a lot of work. Well, it is. But the fact that it takes effort to create a successful podcast is a good thing. It keeps the suckers out. It's also why having a roadmap like the one I just walked you through is so valuable. It can shave years off your learning curve and keep you moving forward with confidence every single day. The second big worry is, but I'm not interesting enough. Why would anyone listen to me? We covered this in video 2. The short answer is to make your show about your guest. If you're genuinely curious about the struggles, accomplishments, belief, and experiences of the person you're talking to, an engaging conversation will unfold naturally. If you want my entire box of tricks on how to run a world-class interview, including questions to ask and how to get people to open up, the next training video will show you where to get it. A third common concern is, what if I run out of content ideas? This is counterintuitive, but the more shows you do, the more ideas start bursting out of you. Let me show you what I mean. When I interviewed Ido Portal, one of the coaches for UFC champion Conor McGregor, I didn't know what movement practices were. Neither did most of my listeners. But it was fascinating and quickly became one of our most popular shows ever. There was so much to explore that we did several follow-up episodes, and I began reaching out to more people in the fitness world because I had all of these questions. The more time you spend getting to know people who have different perspectives and experiences from you, the more you'll find new ideas and topics to explore. The fourth objection I hear a lot is, I don't want to get locked into something I get bored with. This won't happen because it's your show. You can do whatever you want with it. If you have multiple interests, that's actually an advantage because people don't want to hear the same thing over and over again. Just look at my show. We drift from business to spirituality to health and a dozen other topics all the time. Or look at a show like The Art of Charm. What started out as guys talking about meeting women in bars has grown into one of the top podcasts on business and networking. In part because the host got tired of giving pickup advice and the listeners wanted help in other areas of their lives too. Podcasting gives you a platform to explore various topics and do what you're passionate about, even as your passions change. And now for the biggest excuse I hear. But I'm too busy. Too busy with what? How much time do you spend doing work you love, or creating deep connections with people who inspire you, or making a positive impact on thousands of lives? How much of your day do you feel alive, happy, and fulfilled with what you're doing? Podcasting forces you to achieve all of that. So what are you so busy with that you don't have time to live your life? Keep in mind, this doesn't have to be time-consuming. One Sunday a month or 5 hours a week can be all you need to build a successful podcast from scratch. The sixth challenge people have is the technology. People tell me they won't be able to do a show because they're not a tech person. In today's world, you don't need to be. All you have to do is record, edit, and upload. In the final training video, you'll see where you can get detailed tutorials showing you exactly what to use and how. Okay, 3 more quick ones and then we'll move on. Another hurdle I hear about is what if I have an accent? Believe it or not, having an accent is a good thing. Look at Arnold Schwarzenegger. Look at Ariana Huffington. They learned to embrace their accents, and now it's become part of their unique signature. Remember, nobody listens to podcasts because they want to hear an American accent. They listen because they want insight, connection, entertainment, inspiration, etc., etc. You can deliver that no matter what you sound like. Next, the thought of talking to people and putting yourself out there may sound scary. As an introvert who spent his early teens avoiding parties so I could work alone in the garage on my science fair projects, I get it. But this is a perfect tool for introverts because all you do is ask questions. You can even figure out exactly what you want to ask ahead of time to take the pressure off. Podcasting is a safe place for introverts to reach out and connect with people because it's an intimate, one-on-one conversation. You're in the driver's seat and in complete control. Finally, you may be thinking, what if I don't want to do an interview show? Look, you can do whatever format you want. In fact, I encourage you to try different styles and find what length and format work best for you. At the end of the day, it's just a podcast. Have fun with it. Okay, we covered a lot, so let's do a quick recap. In the beginning, we covered the 7 steps for launching a successful podcast from scratch. First, you find the perfect theme that excites you. Second, validate it so you know it'll be a hit from day 1. Third, create your studio so making your show is a breeze. Fourth, connect with inspiring guests you'd love to learn from and get to know. Fifth, edit. Sixth, build your audience of raving fans who stay with you for years. And finally, monetize, and transform your hobby into your own mini media empire if you want. Following these steps puts you on the fast track to building a successful podcast from scratch. After all that, we covered the most common doubts and fears people face when it comes to starting a podcast. And you saw how you can launch your own successful show even if you're busy, aren't a tech person, or don't think you're interesting enough. Before we go, let me ask you something. Now that you've seen the full process, which step are you most excited for and why? Is it finding a theme you're passionate about, connecting with high-level influencers, growing your audience, building a lifestyle business, something else? Share your answer in our free private Facebook group in the link below. And if you know anyone who's been thinking about starting a podcast, please share this on Facebook or send the link directly to them. In the final video, which is the next one you'll receive, we're going to take a deep dive into how you can monetize your show. For the first time, we're pulling back the curtain and showing you the exact methods we use to grow London Real from nothing to a 7-figure business. You'll even discover how to save a bundle of time and money by avoiding the common mistake most podcasters, including myself, make. Podcasting is even more fun when you earn enough from it to leave your job and support a comfortable lifestyle. So don't miss this final training. You'll also see how you can build your own successful podcast from scratch in as little time as possible with our brand new course called Broadcast Yourself. This is the everything included course that walks you through the 7 steps we covered today in great detail. It gives you in-depth answers to all the questions we raised today, plus a lot more. It'll be like having me stand over your shoulder, coaching you through every step, building a high-quality show with thousands of listeners. The doors will only be open for a few days, so if you want to find your passion and turn it into a world-class podcast that impacts thousands of lives, don't miss the final training we have for you next. Block time out in your calendar now before you forget. If you still doubt your ability to have a successful podcast, here's one final thought for you. Look around at all the billion-dollar corporations today, like Disney. They have massive theme parks all over the world and earn billions a year through their movies. The only reason that any of that exists is that years ago, a man drew a cartoon of a mouse. He then decided to broadcast that mouse to the world. Was it scary? Probably. Was there any guarantee it would be a hit? No. Did he have any idea it would become the empire it is today? Not likely. But Walt Disney, a man who grew up on a poor farm in Illinois, went ahead and created that first show anyways. And then another, and then another. Now, it is one of the most recognizable brands in the entire world, earning billions of dollars and putting smiles on millions of faces. If he can make an impact like that, why can't you? I'll see you in the next video.